Okay, Chair, you are live.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City of Pembroke's Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee meeting for Monday, September 25th, 2023. We will begin the meeting by reading the Pembroke Land Acknowledgement Statement. As we gather today, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. I now call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Ian Keel, seconded by Marie-Josée Lévesque. All in favor? Carried. Approval of the minutes of the meeting that was held September 6th. Before we get into that, I'd like to thank Marie-Josée Lévesque, who chaired this meeting in the absence of the chair and vice chair. And you were placed into service. Maybe it's an harbinger of something to come in the future. Who knows? Anyways, we're looking at the approval of the minutes, approved by Councillor Ed Giacono.
Second.
And seconded by Marcel Mantha. Questions, additions, omissions? All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. I believe Councillor Ian Keel, you've got a conflict with 6B.
I'm declaring conflict with 6B, 1000 Olympic Drive, as a parent is an employee of the corporation.
Okay. Have the minutes make note of this particular conflict. Any other items? If not, then we'll continue and start with the new business. First item on the agenda is an application from the applicant, Gerard Bergeron, dealing with a property at 852 Pembroke Street West. This is an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application. I would ask our planner to please make the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant, Gerard Bergeron, has submitted a site plan proposing the conversion of the existing building at 852 Pembroke Street West, formerly a laundromat, currently vacant, to 4 converted dwelling units. The property is currently zoned Highway Commercial C2 by the zoning bylaw, and while this zoning allows for dwelling units above and below ground floor commercial uses, a building consisting fully of converted dwelling units is not a permitted use, and therefore a zoning bylaw amendment is required. The existing building was originally constructed in multiple phases, beginning as a single detached dwelling in 1906 and continuing with commercial additions built in 1941 and 1953. All of these years predate the city's first zoning bylaw, which was enacted in 1955, and therefore the setback deficiencies of the existing building could likely be considered legal nonconforming, but they have been added to this application as housekeeping items to be addressed in the form of site-specific relief. The proposed site-specific residential type 344 zoning would permit converted dwellings, as well as provide the site-specific relief for the following deficiencies: minimum front yard setback, minimum rear yard setback, minimum exterior side yard setback, minimum interior side yard setback, and minimum landscaped open space. All other applicable R3 provisions are met or exceeded, including minimum lot area, minimum lot frontage, minimum lot depth, minimum dwelling unit area, and maximum number of dwelling units per lot. Regarding parking, the zoning bylaw requires a minimum of 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit in this case, and as such, this application demonstrates that the minimum of 6 parking spaces that are required can be accommodated and exceeded. The proposed zoning can be considered compatible with the surrounding area's existing zoning. As shown on the attached mapping with your reports, the vast majority of properties within the vicinity are residentially zoned. Even along the Pembroke Street West corridor, which is largely designated by the official plan as highway commercial in the area. The zoning and the uses remain predominantly residential. These residentially zoned properties largely consist of buildings also originally constructed as single detached dwellings that have been modified into slightly higher density converted dwellings. And as such, the proposed zoning is highly compatible in the neighborhood and the surrounding area. The property is currently designated, again, highway commercial by the official plan. And according to the official plan, this designation means that the land shall predominantly be used for retail and business establishments that are typically dependent on high volumes of traffic. As such, the past use was compatible with said designation, but the proposed use requires an official plan amendment as well. The proposed residential official plan designation would support the full use of the property as converted dwelling units, specifically aims in the official plan for residential intensification, the creation of new housing units, redevelopment and conversion of existing buildings. These directions are easily met by this application, as the proposed conversion and redevelopment of an existing vacant building into residential dwelling units contributes to new housing stock in an already built up area. The official plan further aims to promote efficient and pleasant residential environments. And within a 1 kilometer radius of the property, you have schools, Algonquin College, Equinox Public School, and Holy Name Catholic School. You have parkland and open space, Riverside Park, the Algonquin Trail, Kiwanis Trail, and Rotary Park. You have highway commercial areas in the West End, such as West End Mall, and to the east, downtown Pembroke, the central commercial area, and also within the 1 kilometer radius, Pembroke Memorial Center. As the property is directly located on Pembroke Street West, which is designated as the city's arterial road by Schedule B of the official plan, this provides for strong vehicular transportation links throughout the city. Also important that the official plan says that sidewalks shall be constructed to an appropriate standard on 2 sides of the road for an arterial road. This is the case with Pembroke Street West, and this allows for easy pedestrian movement to amenities that were just mentioned in the downtown core, as well as the various local and highway commercial uses along Pembroke Street West. The official plan further states that all residential development shall be adequately serviced with municipal water and sanitary sewer servicing. The requirement of a building permit in this case to convert the dwellings will trigger the approval of the operations department to ensure there is adequate capacity. The provincial policy statement has the primary aims of intensification and redevelopment where this can be accommodated. This application meets both of those aims, again, providing 4 additional dwelling units in the area of the city, simultaneously increasing the mixture of housing density options. So this application is in line with the provincial policy statement. Therefore, the planning department is recommending the approval of this application for official plan and zoning bylaw amendments for 852 Pembroke Street West, from a highway commercial to a residential official plan designation, and from a highway commercial to a residential type 344 zone.
Thank you very much. Were there any submissions received regarding this application?
No, Mr. Chair, no submissions or inquiries were received.
Thank you very much. Is there someone present who will be representing the application? And please state your name and address.
Gerard Bergeron, 852 Pembroke Street West, Pembroke, Ontario.
Thank you very much. Is there anything you want to add or comment?
Mr. Owen pretty well summed her up. He's looking to get some more housing in Pembroke.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyways, any other person present who wish to comment on this application? Seeing none, then we'll carry on and we'll ask the members for their comments, beginning with Councillor Jacquinot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome, Mr. Bergeron. I live in the west end of Pembroke, and I often drive by there, and my eye always goes to that part of the your business to see your name there, et cetera. I understand the provincial policy statement says that we require more housing, and I see that you're going to go along with that to create some much needed housing within the area, and I appreciate that. My only concern is to the planning committee is, are we watering down our commercial base? And, once you start to change things, will that whole area will we lose our commercial capability with other buildings? And again, the tax base is different as well. No detriment to you, sir. I understand where you're coming from. But, as a council and as a planning area, are we watering down what we're doing by doing this based on the provincial legislation to move forward? That's my concern. And my other concern is, are we going to lose you as a business?
You already did. I've since purchased Round Lake Road. That's why it's vacant. I outgrew the space. So Bergeron Mechanical is no longer located on 852 Pembroke Street West. We are now in Laurentian Valley. At 853 Round Lake Road. We've been there since just a little better than almost 2 years now, actually. So yes, we have moved, and that's what I'm looking to do with the space at this point. And in fairness as well, once we are able to move forward and I can get a building permit, I certainly am going to clean that building up. I cannot stand the way that it looks. So there is other benefits to moving forward with this. I know the tax thing is on you for sure. I can totally appreciate that. But unfortunately, at this point, until we get a rezone, I can't get a building permit, and I can't move forward to make it look better. It all kind of ties in together.
Yeah.
Of course, we've all had renovations. So I have full intentions on really cleaning that place up, cladding the whole building and making it look very good to bring everybody else's property value around mine up. Because to be honest with you, when you look at that area, I have the worst looking place, and I want that to be done with.
I'm sorry that we've lost you as a business. I'm sorry about that. But obviously, there's a positive side that you're going to continue with, based on council's decision, to continue with something that will provide much needed housing. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Councillor Keel, any comments?
No, I think we should move forward with their recommendation.
Thank you. Marie-Josée?
Likewise.
Mr. Mantha, Marcel?
Oh, I agree, Mr. Chair. I think we should move along with it. I did attend the site, and if Mr. Bergeron rebuilds that property, it will certainly add value.
Thank you very much. Okay, asking for a decision on this, looking for a motion. Moved by Councillor Ian Keel, seconded by Marie-Josée Levesque, that we accept the planner's recommendation on this application. Okay, if no further comments, all in favor? Carried. Now, at this particular time, we're an advisory body to the City Council, and City Council will be discussing this application and the fact that and the advice that we have given them as a planning committee to accept it. And they'll be discussing it at a meeting on Tuesday, October 3rd at 6 o'clock right here. And it'd be wise to come.
You took okay.
There is, mind you, I don't expect there to be anybody opposing it because, but there is a period that someone can object. Normally, they've got to either leave an address with City Hall for their objections. And but I don't see any here. Nobody contacted, so I think things are pretty clear.
I've spoken with all the neighbors. Obviously, thankfully, we're in a great community that we can talk to our neighbors, and everybody is on pin, clean it up. So I don't think anybody's going to be opposed to it. Everybody that I've spoke to, we're all on the same page. We want to move forward. We want to get this place looking presentable. So I don't see any of the neighbors putting anything on this one.
Well, you're improving the streetscape, as they say.
We're trying. We're certainly trying.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Okay, this session for this application is over. Let's now going on to item number 6B, the property at 1000 Olympic Drive. and the applicant is KI Canada. Let the minutes show that committee member Councillor Ian Keel has left the table as he has a conflict with this particular item. Okay, we'll start with the planner, asking her to provide the information. This is a déjà vu all over again, so let's go through it.
Okay. So a severance application was approved by this committee in 2021 for the property municipally known as 1000 Olympic Drive. The severance has now lapsed since the conditions of the severance were not fulfilled within the required Planning Act timeline. The applicant wants to reapply to sever the piece of land from KI, and the applicant would like to sever the land for a future industrial business establishment. The retained portion of land would remain owned by KI. So the property is zoned general industrial slope stability as well as hazard. So the suffix S requires that no development shall be permitted within 30 meters of the top of the bank unless a supporting geotechnical study indicated that the setback can be reduced. It would appear there is sufficient lands to build a building that would exceed the 30 meters. Therefore, a geotechnical study may not be required if this provision can be met. The hazard zone would be located from the top of the bank to the Muskrat River, and this would not allow any type of development. So the M1-S zone permits various types of industrial uses such as service industry, a building contractor shop, construction equipment, storage yard, etc. Therefore, once the development is proposed, it would have to meet the permitted uses of the zone as well as the setback requirements, and a site plan agreement would be required. The official plan designates the property as industrial, and the official plan also states that industrial uses are and will continue to be a significant component of the economic base of Pembroke. The intent of the official plan is to recognize existing industrial uses, as well as designate an adequate supply of land for future industrial development. And the intent of the plan is to encourage development of light and medium industries, which are classified as a Class 1 or Class 2 by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. So the proposed use of the lot would have to be considered either a Class 1 or a Class 2, and it would have to be assessed within the context of the Ministry of the Environment's D6 guidelines for compatibility between industrial facilities and sensitive land uses. So what that guideline says, that if there's industrial uses, there's a recommended separation distance away from sensitive land uses, which is considered sensitive land uses as residential or a daycare. And so if it's a Class 1, then it has to be between 20 and 70 meters away from a sensitive land use. Or if it's a Class 2, then it has to be between 70 and 300 meters. So if a Class 2 facility is proposed, this use would indicate that it should be sited a minimum separation distance of 70 meters to 300 meters away from a community sensitive land use. MOE only provides recommendations, as this guideline also states that the actual influence area for a particular facility will be site specific and can be reduced through industrial controls. So the separation distance from the site to the two closest existing homes on Boundary Road is a minimum of 230 meters from the proposed new lot. Thus, the minimum setback of 70 meters is met between the industrial use and the existing sensitive land uses. The official plan also states that industrial traffic shall be directed to and from industrial uses by designated arterial roads, collector roads, and highways. So the industrial traffic will access Paul Martin Drive to Highway 17, and Paul Martin Drive is designated as an arterial road in the official plan. A site plan agreement will be required to show setbacks, parking, landscaping, exterior lighting, open storage, etc. Therefore, this application would meet the intent of the official plan. So in regards to the severance, the application for the retained lot meets the lot area, lot depth, and lot frontage requirements. In regards to the severed portion of the land, the lot area, lot depth, and lot frontage are exceeded again for this proposed lot. So the proposed severed lot is subject to 2 easements. The first easement is for hydro purposes, and the second easement is the city easement for services. And according to our supervisor of water and sewer, there are no actual services under this easement, and it may not be needed and could potentially be removed from the property because development cannot take place on easements. So once we get to the site plan, we can look at removing that easement. A 2% parkland dedication fee, as stated in the Planning Act, would be required for the proposed new lot. The property is bounded on all sides by industrially zoned land, KI, a previous lumber mill, and crane supply. Therefore, this proposed lot for a Class 1 or Class 2 industrial establishment would be compatible in the existing neighborhood. And it would also be serviced by municipal water and sewer. The provincial policy statement is met as it provides opportunities for intensification and redevelopment. It's on city water and sanitary sewer services. It promotes efficient development patterns. New development should occur adjacent to existing development, which this would, and it is compatible in the area. Therefore, based on that information, the proposed development is consistent with the provincial policy statement. So the planning department is supporting this severance application, subject to 2 conditions: that the proposed severed lot would be subject to a 2% parkland dedication fee, and that a registered plan of survey be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer of the Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee.
Thank you very much. Has there been any submissions concerning this application?
No, there's been
One way or the other?
There's been no submissions.
No. Okay. You're representing the application. Have you got, state your name, please?
Yes, it's Dan Mellon.
Thank you. You need his address?
Yeah, we'll put that 1,000.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Okay, anything to add?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess we'll start by asking if there's any comments. We'll start with you, Mr. Manta.
No comments, Mr. Chair. It's for the future, and let's end it.
Good. Marie-Josée, comments?
I have a question. I'm curious about the conditions that were not met and caused this application to come back to the committee. Could I have a little bit of context?
Sure, through you. So what happens is there was conditions. So this severance was approved.
Yeah,
and the conditions indicated that there would be a 2% parkland dedication fee as well as a survey. And they had, at that time, it was a year to fulfill the conditions. They didn't fulfill them. So I guess it wasn't KI that was the applicant at that time. It was a different person who was thinking of developing that land and then decided not to proceed. So he didn't go ahead with the conditions. So after the year, then the severance lapsed.
Okay, so essentially it is the same application as the one we've seen about a year ago?
Yes, it might be a little bit smaller, the land, or a little bit less.
Okay.
But basically, it's the same.
Okay. That is all.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jackman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dan, nice to see you. Haven't seen you in a bit. How do you stay so young looking? I don't get it. I'm all gray. The chair's gray. Mr. Manta is sort of gray. I had a question to ask you, maybe a little bit off the wall. How long has KI been in our community now?
33 years.
33 years. So it's been a solid industrial partner with the community, I believe. And I can remember when there was some talk about it not being here. And the mayor of the day, Terry McCann, went to bat and went to see the prime minister. I believe it was
Mulrooney.
Brian Mulrooney, and they kind of tried to make things happen. So kudos to him and to you for staying. My other question is this particular separate entity, would it have any junction or coordination with the firm that's there now? Or is it something that would be fairly dissimilar, or can you comment on that?
So right now there's no plan. And as Ms. Sorrell had said earlier, about 2 years ago, someone approached me wanting to purchase the land, and they decided that they didn't, at the end, that they didn't want it. And then someone else approached me and said, I'd like it. And they started talking about the dimensions of the land and can you change this? And it didn't go anywhere because we couldn't reach an agreement on where the boundaries were. So the decision today is just, we're going to do the severance. This is the block of land that's there. I have no plans to do anything with it today, but perhaps somewhere down the road, if someone was willing or was interested in looking at it, it's already been severed and it's already, that part of it's already finished, so that we wouldn't have to go through this process and kind of negotiate where the boundaries were going to be again. So Kayette doesn't have any plans for it. In the 15 years I've been there, we've never used the property. So it would make sense that if someone else could use it to do that, but right now there's no plans for it at all.
Just in final, Mr. Chair, it's nice to see that, in large industrial types of settings where you have automobile industries, all these other entities build around them, the plastics, the glass, et cetera. And, I would envision that, your type of business, a high scale business of high quality, might attract somebody else that would have some sort of a linkage to your business, and that would continue to grow. That was my only thought. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. And anything else you want to add after this questioning?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Thank you very much. I guess what we'll do at this particular time is ask for a motion regarding a decision. Moved by Marie-Josée, seconded by Marcel Manta. Any questions? If not, I'll put the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And I believe that it doesn't go to council, this one. No, this is a fait accompli. The only thing that you got to deal with is the possibility of an appeal. Perhaps you could explain that?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there is a 20-day appeal period. However, the people that can, or the agencies that can appeal, are very limited now. It's only agencies and special persons. It's not the neighbors that have the option anymore due to changes to the Planning Act. So we will send out the approved decision tomorrow, and we still have to go through the 20 days.
Okay.
But chances are it'll be approved.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Well, thank you very much. This part of the application meeting is now completed. Okay, we'll now go to item 6C. Once I get my agenda up here. Okay, application 6C is a property on 282 Christie Street. It's a minor variance application, and the applicant is Mr. Sam McCrae. And
his wife, Megan.
I thought maybe your name was
Sam, maybe.
it was Samuel or something. Listen, with all due respect, tell your husband you're pretty in front of us. Okay. Okay, at this particular time, I'll ask the planning department to make its report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant, Sam McCrae, has submitted a site plan to demolish and reconstruct a small portion of an existing mixed-use building at the property of 282 Christie Street. The existing mixed-use building was first constructed as an automobile service station in 1958. Various additions and alterations were made over the years, most significantly in the case of this application, the attachment of a small building in 2008 that has been used as a take-out eating establishment. This smaller portion of the overall building was constructed out of line with the primary original portion of the building. The McCraes wish to demolish this smaller portion and then reconstruct it in line with the primary portion of the building. In order to do this, relief is required from a single zoning bylaw provision, which is minimum rear yard setback. 6.1 meters is required. 5.18 meters is shown on their site plan, and therefore relief of 0.92 meters is being requested. Numerically, this relief can be viewed as minor at only 15%. In the context of the property in question, the majority of the proposed relief will apply to a portion, the primary portion of the building that is to remain, and that has existed since 1958. Only an addition of 3.7 meters of the reconstructed smaller portion will extend the existing 0.92 meter nonconformity. And this relief being granted will bring the reconstruction in line with the existing building footprint for a more singular and aesthetically pleasing overall effect, which can be considered desirable within the neighborhood. While the remaining larger portion of the existing building could likely be considered legal nonconforming due to its construction date, the zoning bylaw states that nothing shall prevent the enlargement, reconstruction, renovation, or repair of an existing non-complying building or structure, provided such an enlargement, reconstruction, renovation, or repair does not further increase non-compliance with any applicable provisions. As Mr. McRae desires to reconstruct the applicable portion of the building outside its original footprint, and because the proposed reconstruction is to be in line with the existing non-complying building, thereby furthering non-compliance, relief is being requested. The property is zoned highway commercial by the zoning bylaw. This zoning allows for both existing uses on the property, an automobile service station and a takeout eating establishment. And as the McRaes intend to maintain both of these uses and further that all other zoning bylaw requirements of the highway commercial zone are met, the intent of the zoning bylaw can be viewed as met. The property is designated by the official plan as residential. However, regarding local commercial uses in residential designations, the official plan states that they are necessary to serve the day-to-day needs of the immediate surrounding residential area and may be permitted in a separate zoning category without amendment to the official plan. As the separate zoning category of highway commercial does exist for the property, and it permits the existing uses. And further, as Christie Street is designated as a collector road by Schedule B of the official plan, this application can be viewed as compatible and in keeping with the intent of said plan. The provincial policy statement directs that land use patterns within settlement areas shall be based on a range of uses and opportunities for intensification and redevelopment. As such, the proposed reconstruction will continue to support and enhance the property's intended commercial use and is in keeping with the provincial policy statement. Therefore, the planning department is recommending that the committee approve the minor variance application for 282 Christie Street to grant relief from minimum rear yard setback requirement for a mixed use building in a highway commercial zone.
Thank you very much. Were there any submissions, pro or con, regarding this application?
No, Mr. Chair, no submissions nor inquiries were received.
Good. As a representative of the application, any comments to add? Or?
No, no.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll begin with you, Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no issues. Thank you.
Councillor Keel. Marie-Josée, Mr. Mata.
No issues.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve the application as been read out. Moved by Councillor Ian Keel, seconded by Marcel Mantha. Further comments? If not, all in favor, carried unanimously. So it's been carried, and this is a minor variance, so it doesn't go to City Council.
Okay.
The decision's been made. As you heard earlier, there's a possibility of an appeal, but not likely in this case. But the planning department, I guess, will be in touch. We'll be sending something out tomorrow, I think. Eh?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
you very much. Okay, this section of the agenda is completed. Okay, we'll go on to 6D. 16. That was Christie Street. Okay, we're dealing with an application on Monroe Street, 183 Monroe Street. And Mr. Morrow, if you want to please have a seat. I'm assuming you're Mr. Morrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Nick Morrow, and your address?
183 Monroe Street.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll ask the planning department to present its report.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. So the applicant, Nick Morrow, he submitted a site plan to construct a semi-detached dwelling on his property at 183 Monroe Street. The property is currently vacant land. A single detached dwelling was recently demolished under building permit 2022-89. The property is zoned residential type 2 by the zoning bylaw, which permits the proposed use of a semi-detached dwelling. But in order to accommodate the proposed semi-detached dwelling on the lot, relief is required from the following items: minimum lot area, minimum front yard setback, minimum rear yard setback, and minimum lot depth. The requested relief can be considered minor in nature and consistent and desirable within the neighborhood when viewed in the context of both the property itself and its surrounding environs. The first point is that the lot as it exists is undersized by current zoning standards. The zoning bylaw states regarding the use of undersized lots that where a lot having less than the minimum lot area, depth, or frontage exists, such a lot may be used for a purpose permitted in the zone in which it is located. Therefore, while we have included minimum lot area and minimum lot depth reliefs in this application as housekeeping items, these reliefs are not strictly required because the provision that I just read effectively grants the reliefs by default, due to the lot being undersized and the proposed use being permitted in the zone. The second point that I have is that the proposed front yard setback can be viewed as compatible within the neighborhood because the existing building line of the street, which consists of 3 existing buildings on the same block, the building line is already constructed with very minimal front yard setbacks. And further, a minor variance was approved in 1996 by this committee for neighboring 180 Monroe Street to have a front yard setback of 8.65 feet. The proposed front yard setback would therefore be compatible and in line with the existing front yard setbacks in the neighborhood. The proposed rear yard setback can be viewed as minor in impact due to the rear yard of the property backing onto a vegetated outcrop that results from the change of grade to the north of properties on Pembroke Street West. This outcrop and its vegetation provide a natural privacy buffer that compensates for the rear yard of 183 Monroe Street being reduced. And the side yards of the proposed building would both exceed the minimum interior side yard setback requirement by 10.5 feet. 14.5 feet is proposed and only 4 feet is required. These large side yards should contribute to mitigating the impact of the reduced front and rear yards by providing sizable space between the proposed building and the applicable abutting properties. And finally, the required parking of 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit for semi-detached dwellings can easily be accommodated in the large interior side yards. So the property is designated residential under the official plan, and this application is strongly in keeping with the intents of the official plan in terms of providing intensification that increases the potential supply of new housing units, and particularly new residential units within an already built up area. The provincial policy statement also directs that land use patterns within settlement areas shall be based on a range of opportunities for intensification and redevelopment where this can be accommodated. As such, this application is very much in keeping with the aims of the provincial policy statement. Therefore, the planning department is recommending that the committee approve the minor variance for 183 Monroe Street to grant relief from minimum lot area, minimum front yard setback, minimum rear yard setback, minimum lot depth requirements for a semi-detached dwelling in an R2 zone.
Thank you very much. Are there any submissions, pro or con, concerning this application?
No submissions nor inquiries were received, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, perfect.
Pretty well clear. I think there's one little item there I think is important for you to note, and it's worthwhile repeating, that the lot may be considered undersized, but it's covered in our zoning bylaws as an undersized lot. And so there's a couple of little things they're adding in this particular application, which is a kind of a housekeeping item. Just makes it clear so that there's no problems. I mean, other than that, a little variance that we're taking care of. Okay, questions. We'll start with Mr. Mantha.
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Marie-Josée? No. Councillor Keel and Councillor Jacquinot.
A semi-detached is the footprint?
Yeah.
Is there a second story on a semi-detached?
No, this is.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is a prime example of what the province is trying to do, getting infilling and getting some of these properties built and so on. So actually, I guess I shouldn't say this until it's passed, okay? Looking for a motion to approve the application. Moved by Councillor Jacquinot, seconded by Marie-Josée Levesque. All in favor? So it's carried. So thank you for coming, because this is the kind of thing the city's looking for. And this is a prime example. Again, it's because it's a minor variance, it doesn't go to city council. It's just fait accompli. The only thing is, you might have heard earlier, there is a possibility of an appeal period, but the planning department will be corresponding with you starting tomorrow. Thank you. Good luck in your venture. Okay, this portion is now completed. As a matter of fact, we're ready now to go to the next section of our agenda. Oh, the modern technology. Okay, there we are. Okay, we're at the section now of our agenda where we're looking at past decision updates. We had one big one in my absence, and maybe a little update on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if it's all right, so the very last meeting that this committee had was on September 6th, which was for a sole minor variance for 460 River Road, which is City of Pembroke property. And that application was approved. It is currently within its applicable 20-day appeal period, which is set to close. The final day of appeal is September 27th, next week. Regarding the previous meeting, an application for 794 River Road, an application for 224 Hank Street, and an applications for 0 Blakely Crescent went to a public meeting of council where council council heard all three applications, and at a following meeting of council on September 19th, council approved all three applications. So they are also now currently within 20-day appeal periods.
Thank you very much. I guess we're at the next meeting. Are there any comments on those updates? No. Okay. The next meeting, it looks like it's set for Monday, October 30th. Any problems? Okay. We're ready to roll a month from now. Okay. Thank you very much. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Keel, seconded by Marcel Bantha. All in favor, carried. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Hey,
Have a good one.
That went well. That went well this evening. Hey, it's a sign that everybody's doing their homework.
We're on for 10:30 tomorrow.
Yes.
You're on.
Okay, just maybe a few decisions for you to sign.